What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Nerdwide podcast. Finally, kind of a pretty normal show, except for the movie reviews for this here Nerdwide podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Haynes, with my good friend and co-host, Mr. Chris Rivers.
What's happening?
It's a little cold and a little snowy outside here in good old Nashville, Tennessee. Right. But in middle of January, so winter is officially here for all you Game of Thrones geeks. And we're supposed to get you're supposed to get more snow than us.
Yeah,
because I think y'all are supposed to be like 4 to 7 or something like that.
Yeah, we're getting more inches than you all.
Yeah, so. And it's going to and every inch matters. You know,
yeah.
Every inch matters.
That's what they say.
It's going to shut the whole state down. I'm just waiting for it at this point.
Yeah, they've already canceled my work, so
that must be nice. I've told Jamie today, I don't want to do hospital anymore because I want to enjoy snow days too. All right, I want to enjoy all this. I was talking to my brother on the phone earlier, and he said, "Yeah, I just got a text message. They canceled my work for tomorrow." I'm like, Jesus Christ, guys, come on. I get it, hospitals and everything, but
well, so that brings up a good point. Do you see fewer patients coming in when it's snowy because more people stay inside?
It just depends. Sometimes you get more, sometimes you don't. It depends. Like, we'll get people who, get hypothermia because their heat don't turn on, things like that. We've been so busy the past 2 weeks. And from our CMO, he told us recently that we are expecting to have a record-breaking winter full of patients and stuff like that, just because of RSVs going around, flus going around, COVID. Our COPDers, the CHFers are getting sick like normal and everything, and they're expecting I think they say a 300% increase in admissions between now and 3 weeks from now. And I'm like, please stop. It's just not fun, but it's a part of it, I guess. It's that time of the year, but everyone wash your hands. If you're sick, stay home.
Yeah, there's things you can do to help take care of yourself and other people.
And it's going to be a rough year, but we're not here to talk about that kind of roughness. We're here to talk about how I did not watch an episode of What If, arguably one of the best episodes of What If. So I watched 4 and 5. So we're going to punt episode 6 to the last half. So we'll have 4 episodes. Wait, that's not right. Yeah, we'll have 4 episodes next week. And then the week after, we'll have 3 episodes and maybe an episode to our Agent Carter. No, we'll just do a movie, right? And then we'll be kind of back on schedule.
Yeah, we can do a movie. We haven't decided what movie yet. I don't know if this is when we want to go ahead and get the torture over with and watch The Flash, or...
Right, especially before my HBO goes out.
Yeah.
It might, honestly, because it won't be next episode. It'll be the episode after that.
I don't know. Do you want your last memory of your HBO experience to be?
Well, they canceled Our Flag Means Death, one of my favorite shows on there. So, which is not arguing their case for me to get it. Well, I'm going to get it back anyways for House of the Dragon season 2. But, I mean, we'll have to. With Netflix giving all the stuff to...
Disney?
Yeah. There we go. With all the stuff they're doing to Netflix, they there's Aquaman's on there. I think Shazam and Shazam 2 are on Netflix now because they've got some sort of deal for the year, and so they've been doing a bunch of their stuff over. It's just really weird to me. You're trying to pimp out your own thing, but what do I know? So we might have to do The Flash in 2 weeks, and
yeah.
I'm ready to dog on that movie like I dogged on it during the trailer reactions, which you can watch right now on youtube.com. If you'll search in Nerdwide Podcast or just Nerdwide, where the first thing that pops up when you search that, go down to Nerdwide Reacts, and you can find a lot of our trailer reactions to a bunch of different slew of things. You guys really, really, really enjoyed the Blue Beetle trailer reaction, and I don't understand which one of you crazy fools watched it for 7 hours or whatever it was off of a 3-minute, 4-minute trailer reaction that we did. But we appreciate you guys. But you can do all that on YouTube. So don't forget to subscribe to us again on YouTube or whatever podcasting service you do. If you don't enjoy what you see or hear, let us know in the comments what we could do to improve, what you want to see, those kind of things. But If you want to go the extra mile, go to patreon.com/nerdwide. 3 different tiers with 3 different monthly subscription values there. If you want us to give us ideas of what to watch, things to do, read, play, games, all that kind of stuff, that is the place to do it. Of course, you can also get the episodes early if you subscribe there as well. Chris, TV-wise, you watched anything out of the ordinary, anything crazy fun?
No, I don't do crazy fun anymore.
You know.
I'll work.
that's about as crazy fun as you get from me nowadays. Anyways, I've watched Suits still. Like, there's nothing TV. It's with being so busy at work, I don't even really have time for myself anymore. So it's just whatever's playing in my ear, and a lot of times here lately it's like lo-fi beats and music, so I can just concentrate on work and get things done fast. But no, nothing really from TV or from this side either. Not even movies. I didn't even watch anything. But I'm really excited to see if you kept up your New Year's resolution and what those movies were, if you did. So, a little future kind of hint and tease for the case, because I can't even watch a 30-minute episode of a TV show. Speaking of, we are going straight into spoilers of What If Season 2, Episode 4. Titled, which I really enjoyed this one. What if Iron Man crashed into the Grand Master? Another what if that. So a lot of these are things I would have never thought of, but I really enjoy. Like, this one was a really good one, and not as good as the second one for me, which is what if Peter Quill attacked Earth's mightiest heroes, but still a good one. I really wish though we had old RDJ back, because I think he could have had a lot of fun, especially with Jeff Goldblum in this episode. But, we didn't get it. Going to Wikipedia for this one, written by Brian Andrews, directed by Brian Andrews, and written by A.C. Bradley once again. In 2012, Tony Stark saves New York City from the Chitauri by redirecting a nuclear missile towards their mothership. This was in Avengers from 2012. However, the wormhole he used closes before he returns to Earth like he does normally, causing him to crash land on Sakaar, where he is forced to stay by its ruler, the Grand Master, of course, played by the legend himself, Jeff Goldblum, returning. Stark interferes in a death race to save one of the racers, Korg, and encounters Gamora, who is sent by Thanos to kill Stark for stopping the Chitauri before the Grandmaster's chief enforcer, Topaz, imprisoned the pair. Upon learning that Gamora's purpose and vow to stop the Grandmaster, Stark escapes, recruits Korg and Valkyrie, builds a sweet new Iron Man suit, and challenges the Grandmaster to a race for the title of Sakaar's ruler. I want to stop here because a lot happened here. Of course, the Jeff Goldblum and the RDJ, like in the Iron Man quips, are chock full of this episode. I could watch a whole movie of this one. And the one of the really funny moments for me was putting Gamora and Stark in the room together, like in the little love room, and Korg is just in there. He's like, "Oh, guys, just pretend I'm just a rock. Just kind of hanging out. Just ignore me." And I'm just like, God, Taika Waititi, man. And which is funny to me, though, probably the character we've seen the most, and this isn't a what if, is Korg. Which could have fooled me on that one. So would have never pinpointed that. Let's see, where were we? Though the Grandmaster tries to cheat, Stark ultimately wins while Valkyrie defeats Topaz and melts the Grandmaster. As Valkyrie is crowned king of Sakaar, Stark convinces Gamora to forge her own path before joining her and leaving to confront and kill Thanos. In a mid-credit scene, the still-alive Grandmaster begs Topaz to collect his new puddly form. There was Mick Wingert as Tony Stark / Iron Man, Jeff Goldblum as Grandmaster, Tessa Thompson is back as Valkyrie, Taika Waititi as Korg, Rachel House as Topaz, Josh Brolin, a couple lines as Thanos, and Cynthia McWilliams as Gamora. I guess they could not get Zoe Saldana for Gamora back, but she's always very busy with her commercials and her skiing and that kind of stuff. That's just a commercial joke. Overall, good episode.
Yeah, very good episode. Even, like you said, we just got Josh Brolin for a couple of lines. We've said this before, it makes a difference, having the actual actor voice the character.
And you can instantly tell.
Yeah. Because there are certain people and we get this in the next episode. Again, Poison Ivy's back in the
Yep, that's
MCU,
yep.
and I can't unhear it. Great actress, right?
Right.
Does really well in the stuff that we've watched her in, Lake Bell, but it's not Scarlett Johansson, and it throws me off.
Mm-hmm. And it's like these voice actors try to impersonate another actor, and it's just kind of, with these kind of shows, it's very telling. And I know we talked about it last week as well. It's just very off-putting in some instances, like the Natasha Romanoff one. And then even with, again, I love Josh Keaton as Steve Rogers for the next episode. It's the same thing. Like, you can just really tell it's not Chris Evans. And I'm like, it's just, could we really have not flexed a little bit of money for this kind of budget? But put him in a closet and make him record for 45 minutes, 3 lines. But then again, I don't know. That's why I'm not a Hollywood executive or Disney or anything. But.
And look, people did it during COVID where they would just zoom in. And
even from like they could do it from your closet. I mean, you have the perfect acoustics in there. So,
but sit on the toilet if you need to. Like whatever happens.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I do think if James Gunn and Peter Safran do continue on with their thing, because who knows if this merger takes place, what could change. If they get their people to provide the voice for video games and animation as well, that's going to set them apart.
Yes. It's a continuity thing as well.
Yeah.
And it's just easy to so everything you see this character in is canon. And going forward and everything, it helps your story building, helps your world building, your lore, and all that kind of stuff. But I think this, as far as What If Season 2, this is probably my second favorite episode.
I can see that. There's
the Iron Man stuff was just great. Like the whole car thing, coming to car and then coming back together was very well done. His new suit, was kind of homemade, reminded me from the first Iron Man, but it had that Sakaar touch to it. It was very cool. But I enjoyed it.
There's one thing I wish that they would add to the What If episodes, and that is at the end, kind of give an overview of how that changed. Big events down the road.
Yeah.
Like, did it eventually course correct and we're back on the timeline we know, or did it have further ramifications?
If you think about it, this was a prequel to an episode of Season 1. Where Gamora gets pulled. I think it was even the penultimate of last season, where Gamora gets pulled through to help out against Ultron, and it's Stark and her together. And this is kind of like the prequel to it. So I thought that was kind of cool, because I had to remember, and I went back and looked at everything. I was like, oh, that's kind of neat that they're doing that, which they do it heavily in this next episode we're going to talk about, which is Episode 5, What If Captain Carter Fought the Hydra Stomper? I'm going to let you know. So seeing this title, I was like, really don't need to do this again. And they played me. Because the watcher at the beginning said, I usually do not do sequels or revisit the same stories because there's so many stories to tell. He said, but I had to revisit this one. It was so good. Like, I just knew what I was thinking. So pretty much everybody is voicing their selves again. So you got Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury, which you cannot replicate. Like, there's nobody that does that. Haley Atwell as Peggy Carter. Lake Bell, as you said, as Natasha Romanoff, Black Widow. Frank Grillo as Brock again. Josh Keaton as Steve Rogers. Sebastian Stan as Bucky Barnes. Rachel Weisz as Melina Vostokov. And Elizabeth Olsen as Wanda Merlin at the end. So, and you could tell.
You could tell.
So, going into this one, Captain Peggy Carter and Natasha Romanoff find Steve Rogers inside the Hydra Stomper armor aboard the Lemurian Star, which was the Winter Soldier for us, was when this happened. But he attacks them. A briefing with Nick Fury leads Romanoff to deduce that Rogers, who went missing in 1953, was captured and brainwashed by the Red Room, so not by Hydra this time. Carter and Romanoff help Brock Rumlow protect Bucky Barnes from Rogers before incapacitating him. I always have trouble with that word. And traveling to a secret hideout in Scotland, where they learn the suit is keeping him alive, though each activation reduces his chance of survival. Rogers offers to help Carter dismantle the Red Room in the hopes of finding a cure before escorting her and Romanoff to a former KGB site. However, the group is ambushed by drones and Black Widow assassins controlled by the Red Room's leader, Melina Vostokov, who reactivates Rogers' brainwashing. I don't know if it's reactivating it or if it's just he was doing the mission. Well, Romanoff holds off the stock because it was because she said that's what they were supposed to do. So, I don't know if it's reactivating.
Yeah, because he says mission accomplished.
Right. While Romanoff holds off Vostokov's forces, there's a lot of fun words here. Carter reaches out to Rogers, who sacrifices himself, destroying the Red Room. Amidst this, Romanoff uses her grappling hook to tie Vostokov to Rogers' suit, killing her in the resulting explosion. As Carter tries to find Rogers, a portal suddenly takes her to a Renaissance-themed universe where she encounters its variants of Fury and Wanda Maximoff. So, which sets up a couple episodes from now, which we know is what if the Avengers assembled in 1602. Right. But this is a very well done episode. It had the horror elements that I didn't really expect to find in this kind of show, but those automatons were very creepy because they kept doing it behind animation. Again, phenomenal for this episode, and it was very good seeing a what if of our movies that we watch. Like, this is a very big play on of what Captain America Winter Soldier. Because it even had they even had the references of Star Wars in there. They had the references of some like the other pop culture stuff that Natasha wanted Carter to watch. It was just very cool to see that kind of stuff, just to see a different reality of that. And these are ones that are very fun. Obviously, very enjoyed this episode. I'm pissed off that I did not watch the next one because I'm really excited for it. But
there's one thing about this episode, and it's a tiny thing, but I thought it would have made it make more sense. You would think, since this suit is keeping him alive, that they would have said, when they were having that moment of clarity with him, like, hey, we can get with Tony Stark, and he can probably help you.
Yeah. And no, it was still, it would been Tony.
It never even comes up.
Right. None of it, like Wakanda, which I guess Wakanda's probably not here yet in this universe.
Well, but it has to be because she has the shield.
That's correct. So, and they even said something about the vibranium. No, that was episode 2 of that one. But I thought it was very cool seeing Bucky Barnes as the senator, where we had what's his name and Winter Soldier as a senator, and like it was like a verbatim, that kind of scene. It was very cool, and he even stood up, weak-bodied and disabled and everything. It was very well done. Like, it was a very, very, very good story. And these 2 episodes are both back-to-back of I wish were actual movies or longer than what they were, because they are very interesting. They hit on everything that the MCU does well, and I just wanted more. That's what kills me about these what if shows, because a lot of these episodes I just want more, and we don't get them. So,
well, but if they do what they seem to do with season 1, it was like they were testing some ideas,
right,
to see how people responded, and then it was like, okay, we're going to drop this in this movie.
Yeah,
they did kind of carry a little bit, so maybe we get it in a future movie. Who knows?
Well, I hope so, because we've got. We're in the era of the multiverse saga is what we're still a part of in the MCU.
Yeah.
Which I forget when it ends. I think it ends with the Kang Dynasty, because that starts off something else.
Whatever they call it.
Whatever they're going to call it now. But I'm just very.
It's going to end with Secret Wars, right?
Yes. So we've still got quite a bit. In Secret Wars, we could pull in a lot of these characters.
Yeah.
Which will be a lot of fun.
I will say, because I did do all my homework, Tyler, and I watched the other episode. I do think you're going to really like it.
Yeah. Especially with how much, surprisingly, I like Echo.
Yeah.
So, which is another like Native American hero, kind of. She's more of an anti-hero. Like, I'm glad they're doing... Well, okay. Let's talk about it. Anything else for What If on this one?
No, nothing else for What If, no. But I will say before we go into Echo, they did make one change I'm very curious about. I'd have to look up information on the different Native American tribes.
Mm.
In the show, she's referred to as Choctaw,
Mm.
but in the comics, she was Cheyenne.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's. I
I
don't know.
wonder what. I wonder why they did
Why-
that way.
I don't know.
Huh.
That's strange.
Yeah.
Unless it was they decided to set it in because it's set in Oklahoma.
Right.
So maybe they were just trying to stay true to what's
That area
the tribes that were there.
That's smart if they did. I mean, there's a flashback in episode 2, like way in the past. They even had Cherokee Indians in. It was very cool kind of stuff. But I enjoyed this. So going into this, the first 3 episodes of Echo, or going into the show, it was not getting a lot of good, not reviews. I mean, they were getting decent reviews, but not good, not great, from what I was seeing, which I just need to stay off social media more anyways. But a lot of people are saying it's not that decent. But I'm like, I really like, this is high. This is like 3.5, 4.5 for me show. Like from what we've watched, unless like the last 2 episodes are just garbage. But the first 3 episodes, I was like, I am really enjoying this show.
Yeah,
So
it's a really good show. And I will say this, it continues this streak that Marvel seems to have with doing a really good job of bringing in stories of other cultures.
yes, like very well done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially like with her disability being deaf, they brought that in, and then of course the bringing in of the Native American, the Choctaw people, and just very like well integrated and very well done. Like I love it. Like I don't know what MCU how they do this, but they do a very damn good job with it.
Yeah.
So let's get right into this one. All 3 episodes are from agentsoffandom.com. Awesome name, by the way. And they're all written by Adam Blevins. So in case I forget to say it again, that's who it's from. Let's see. All right, the first episode opens up with a young Maya Lopez and her friend Bonnie as they relive the story of the first Choctaw Chaffa who saved their people from certain death. The current setting is Tamaha, Oklahoma in 2007, where young Maya and her family reside. Maya and her mother head to the store for some ice cream, but the brakes of the truck give out and they get T-boned, killing the mother. This is the accident that cost Maya her leg and her mother's life. In the hospital after the accident, Maya's father, William, reveals that someone sabotaged the brakes, but they have since been dealt with. Young Maya has a heart-to-heart with her father at the hospital before they head back home to their grandparents and pack up their stuff to start a new life in New York. A lot of cool storytelling for the Choctaw people that they were telling here for this family. I really enjoyed the atmosphere of like out back, just kind of little campfire, just all these families, being one together and just hanging out and living. And then it got real dark real fast, and we're like, that's right, this is where the story is from. And I love the mature rating they gave this, because this feels like this could have been in the Netflix era of the Daredevil, your Jessica Jones, your Luke Cages. Although probably a little bit more put together. But the violence and everything was spot on and great. So
yeah.
Which I wasn't expecting to get this episode, which we'll talk about it in the next couple of paragraphs. I was not expecting to get Daredevil in episode 1.
No. And I was very curious where we were going with the opening scene, because it's the flashback.
Yes.
And they're in this cave, and these people are rising up out of the water. And
I was like, is this a Lazarus pit? What are we coming out this water for?
Plus, they were naked, and I was like, wait, this is Disney Plus, right?
So, hey, what are we doing here? William tells Maya that he wants her to grow up and lead a different, better life than he had. We now move into the present day when Maya relives the events of Hawkeye and has to watch Ronan murder her father. Police catch Maya stealing a motorcycle, but Wilson Fisk shows up at the scene and bails her out of trouble. And damn it, this show is so good. And we talked about it before we started recording. But Vincent D'Onofrio is one of those characters and actors like RDJ, your other characters when you think of that character, you think of that actor. And every time Vincent D'Onofrio gets on screen, I love it. I know the scene is about to be phenomenal. And he didn't do much in this scene, but walk across and all the police presence backing away from him. And one guy was like, "Hey, stop!" And then the other cop pulls it back. He says, "Do you know who he is?" And you just see him walking. It's so damn good. And he pulls the cop off of her, and then pulls her up, and she looks at him, and they get in the car, and the whole scene. What's about to happens? It's so good, man.
He doesn't have to even say a word.
No, it's the presence and his body language is phenomenal.
And the first time you see him, you see like his shoe in the bottom of his pant leg.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, I know who this is.
Yes, and we're about to have a banging scene. Fisk offers Maya a job to help her release some of her rage brought on by the grief of her father's passing, which is what we see happen in Hawkeye, which is a lot of what like the C plot, I guess, of Hawkeye was the whole Maya and Fisk scenario. For her first job, Maya meets two men in an empty club where they clear out a warehouse of people looking to move into Fisk's territory. When the fighting begins, Maya freezes but has no choice but to act when the men start attacking her. The fight seems all but over when Daredevil bursts through the window, makes quick work of Fisk's two goons, and sets his sights on Maya. Like, I was not expecting that. And I knew they were going to for this show because you could tell from the trailer. But when they, have all the action music and everything going great, and then they just go straight to being deaf from Maya's point of view and her not hearing everything, it was very well done, especially during this scene too, because there's a lot going on. Action music's going, the fight scenes starting to ensue. And then I think it is when Daredevil breaks in through the window, the music and everything cuts off, and you hear from Maya's standpoint. Yeah. And it's very, very well done. And they do it throughout the whole series so far, of the whole action scenes have been going straight to death when it's from her point of view kind of thing. And it's just very, very, very well done.
It's used really well later on, and I won't spoil it too much because obviously you haven't talked about it yet. But in a later episode where they're in the skating rink.
Yes. Oh, so good. Echo and Daredevil get into a brief fight that leads Daredevil escaping after gaining the upper hand by dropping a shelf on Maya. Fisk's new job is proving useful to Maya, and he tells her that they're family now. Shortly thereafter, Maya gets into a fight with Ronan, and he reveals it was Kingpin who wanted her father dead, as seen in the Hawkeye series. We then see a brief retelling of the Hawkeye finale, sees Maya shooting Fisk in the head once again, and then there's a 5-month time jump follows to get the audience up to the current day. Maya is severely wounded in her side, which did not look the best. No. My only critique of that, like it looked, you could tell it was prosthetic. Yeah. Let's see, but she toughs it out and heads to her hometown of Oklahoma. Upon arriving at her old home, she sneaks in at the back door and patches herself up with a dental floss. Before she can settle in, her cousin Biscuits busts through the door and greets her with open arms. I love Biscuits. Like that, another like comedy or comedic relief character done well for these series.
Biscuits is he's a little short on gravy.
Yeah, he's that's for sure. Maya doesn't want anyone to know she's back home and makes Biscuit promise to keep it between them. Maya briefly spies on her old friend Bonnie, who is now working at the fire department, before setting out to visit an old friend. After her spy session, Maya goes to the skating rink and finds a friend who we later learn is her actual Uncle Henry. Her works as the DJ, but not before the desk clerk texts a random number and ominous message offering information on her whereabouts. Uncle Henry brings in a doctor who helps to clean up and mend her wound, and they head to an overlooking location for an intense conversation. Doctor is a little stretch. A mortician, is the better one, which it was kind of funny how they leaned into this a little bit. The jokes for this one, they were like, oh, if you need a body fixed or one hidden, I'm the one to go to. I'm like, okay, I like this lady. I wonder if we'll see her again, because we haven't seen her in 3 episodes. But it's where... Okay, let's see. Uncle Henry brings in a doctor who helps clean up him in her wound, and they head to an overlooking location for an intense conversation. It's where Maya once again spies on Bonnie and also on Fisk's men who are occupying a warehouse. She lets Uncle Henry in on her plan to take Kingpin's place. The city has had a king. Now it's time for a queen. Before the episode concludes, we see Fisk survive the gunshot to the head and is breathing heavily in a hospital bed with bandages wrapped around his face. When we heard like the beeping, because the screen went to black, and then you hear the monitor beeping. I was like, did I miss something? I was like, because something had to happen. And then it comes out and it pans across and you see Fisk with bandaged up and everything. And it just stays on him. And the episode ends. It's like, oh, we're back, baby. Oh, man. But a very good premiere.
Yeah.
Obviously a little crazy, trying to get people caught up in case they hadn't seen Hawkeye,
Yeah.
which is understandable because it's not a Hawkeye character, but the MCU junkies like us know that you had to watch Hawkeye before you came to this. So, episode 2, because I really like talking about these, and we get a lot more of Echo's powers. Because at first, I was thinking she's more like a Daredevil character, but then we're like, no. There's a little bit of history here.
Yeah.
Let's see. Episode 2 begins with a story of the Choctaw Indians in 1200 AD in Alabama. They're playing a lacrosse-like game. One side is losing, so they call for help from their most athletic member. The losing team will be banished forever, and a woman on the red team taps into the power of her ancestors and gains strength and wins the game, securing a peaceful future for her people. After the credits roll, we pick up with Maya in present day in her hometown. She sends Biscuits on a shopping trip to Grandfather Scully Icksho's pawn shop, played by the phenomenal Graham Greene, which we really talked about in the first episode. And he did and he's one of those two that every scene that he's in, he steals it. He's very funny. He could play aloof, but he's very, very smart in this show. And it's very cool he's at a pawn shop, though. Like, seeing that first episode with them being like the grandfathery type and everything, I was like, I wouldn't have suspected him working at a pawn shop trying to sell an ancient little pot to these white guys.
He's chanting, and the couple leans in trying to hear what he's chanting, and it's what, buy the damn thing?
Yeah, buy the damn thing. Dude, it's so
and
good.
He's just...
It's that MCU humor, man.
The last time we saw him in anything was Last of Us.
Yes. And which we talk about on this show. So.
Yep.
Let's see. Biscuits acquires the items for Maya while also helping Grandpa Scully out with the sale. Despite Maya's desire to keep her presence a secret, her grandmother Chula learns she is in town and confronts Maya's friend, who confronts Uncle Henry. So the stuff that he was buying, like they say, I need a camera, and he's got one, and goes smaller, and it's a GoPro, and they go smaller, and it's like a little chip one, and then he pulls out like an endoscope that people use for like snake drains and things like that. I was like, oh, what are we doing here? I'm curious. Of course, we figure it out. Maya and Biscuits go for a ride that leads to her jumping onto a moving train. Maya navigates her way up to the train and makes it to the car she's looking for, which contains a box that she sabotages by planting a bomb in. Biscuits, hilarious this episode. And you have to remember, Maya is deaf, so she can't hear anything that Biscuits does when he's in the peripheral, And so she runs and takes off the bridge. He's like, she just jumps off, and it lands very poorly. Might I add on this. Even when she jumps in the truck later on, very poor jump as well, which makes it a little bit more realistic.
Well, you don't have to do that in New York City.
No, you don't. Everything's underground, so you can't really, don't have to do any of that. Maya navigates her way after a few close calls. She makes it off the train and back into the truck with her cousin, albeit with a severely damaged prosthetic leg. Back in New York, the sabotaged D9-X train car explodes and destroys one of Fisk's armories. Very well done, might I add. This looked really cool. Uncle Henry maintains plausible deniability on the explosion because it came from his train yard, but he knows Maya has something to do with it. Meanwhile, Maya goes to visit Grandpa Scully to see about fixing her new leg. He makes her a new one, but promises to deliver a third, better leg if she sticks around town for a while. Maya finds an old Choctaw statue in the shop, and Grandpa Scully explains its origins to her because she's seeing this person. The train heist left Grandma's truck with some serious damage, so Biscuit takes us to get it fixed. Bonnie calls Biscuits on the radio, and he accidentally reveals to her that Maya is back in town. Uncle Henry tries to talk to her out of starting a war with Fisk, but it's here that she unveils her plan to become the new Kingpin and take its place. He tries to warn her that if she continues down this path, it will be her friends and family who pay the price. But by this point, Maya has a single-minded focus on one thing and one thing only. Power.
Yeah. She thinks at this point that she has killed Kingpin.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you shot the dude in the face. I mean, by all
Shot
intents
him.
and purposes, most people would be dead.
Apparently through the eye.
Right. Most guys are dead though. Let's just be completely
Yeah.
honest. A bullet to the head, 9 times out of 10 you're dead.
Yeah.
And but hey, I think he's a mutant, and that's going to come down the line. I think is what we'll see that as. Well, this recap is great and all, but one thing it does not mention is that her powers come to fruition. She started throughout this whole episode seeing back to that memory with the Cherokees and the Choctaw people. And then on the train, she's trying to, it wasn't get her leg free. It was to push the train car, right?
Yeah,
Separate
but
it.
her leg was
Her leg
caught.
was stuck in it. And so you see her straining, and then like it does a cool little flashback to all of like her ancestors. And then she sees that her hands glow, and then she's able to push it and get her leg out, and then it shuts back. And it was very brief, I guess, is the word I'm looking for here. And she doesn't really think much about it anymore either.
I would.
If my hands start glowing and I just get this strength, that's what I would be preoccupied with. I'm like, whoa,
Yeah.
I want to take a couple days to figure this out. Because if I've got
Little bit.
superpowers in this MCU world, I want to know. But here we are. Which brings in episode 3 of Echo. And we start off with a black and white story of Tucklow that pays homage to classic westerns. This is very well done too, because it was more like a talkie, where like it shows a little scene, then it has what they said, and it comes back to
the
scene.
silent film.
Silent films. That's what I was going for, not talkies. What do I know? The men that Tucklow describes as light horse police deny her the right to fight because she's a woman, but she ends up using the same powers as her ancestor Loak to save them when they need it most. Back in present day, Grandma Chula goes to visit Grandpa Scully's pawn shop, and he tells her she needs to let go of her pride before she loses Maya forever. The bowling alley snitch, Vicky, which is a weird name for a... Yeah, I can't say it. Anyways, has a plan to hand over Maya to Zane for a big payout. Maya is out for a walk in the woods when she has a vision of her ancestors before someone ambushes her from behind. She awakens to find herself hanging upside down in the bowling alley where Uncle Henry is also tied up. Bonnie arrives at the bowling alley looking for Maya and Uncle Henry, not knowing they're currently captives. Vicky and his crew briefly free Uncle Henry and let him talk to Bonnie into getting her to leave. Bonnie goes back out to the car to call for help, but someone grabs her from behind as well. The captors bring Bonnie into the same room as Maya, where she's now face to face with her old best friend. Maya uses a knife in her boot to cut herself and Bonnie free, but Bonnie also has some choice words for her. This is something that the MCU does really well. Of the relationships with each other's characters. And I really believe this Bonnie was upset, and she was like, and they hashed it all out, because this is what would actually happen in this scenario. And it's very well done. She was like, I was there for you when your dad died. I had not heard from you in years. She goes, I even stayed up every single night for a couple of years until I realized you weren't coming back to me. And I was like, oh, this is very well done. And you could tell that Bonnie has always liked Maya, loved Maya more than she did, because they're cousins in reality. When the first episode, she said sisters, she says, no, but we're cousins. She goes, no, but we're sisters. And it was very well done, and you can very much believe it in this scene. Bonnie calls Maya out on never returning home or any of her calls or texts. Before they can finish the conversation, though, they get into a scuffle with the captors who can't kill Maya if they want to get paid. Maya uses a skate repair tools to make herself a weapon and escape from the locked room. The buyers arrive. They are immediately recognizable as the crew from the D9-X shipment Maya blew up in episode 2. The buyers murder Vicky after they realize he is no longer capable of handing over Maya, which they were going to do anyways. That's how these shows work. You think these guys will know this by now if they watch any kind of TV show or movie, but here we are. Maya turns on the music, turns off the lights, and takes out the buyers one by one using all sorts of skating rink equipment. Before Maya could take them all down, Zane walks in with a gun to Bonnie's head. And this was the scene you were talking about earlier where they cut all the sound out. And It's just the beautiful orchestrated choreography of taking out all of these goons, which I could have swore she killed all of these or at least incapacitated them. But then at the end of the scene here with Bonnie, they all get back up. And I'm like, what is going on here? Because I could have swore these guys were all dead. But must have had more outside. Let's see. They're about to execute Maya and Bonnie when they get a call. No, they're about to execute Maya and Uncle Henry when they get a call that orders them to fall back. Outside the skating rink, Maya promises to protect Bonnie and sends her on her way. Uncle Henry tells Maya that Kingpin is the one who could have called off Zane, but Maya insists that he's dead. Grandpa Scully stops by the house to drop off Maya's new prosthetic, and the two share a sweet moment where he tries to convince her to go visit her grandmother. As the episode concludes, Maya returns home to find Kingpin on her front porch, and the screen fades to black. God, and it's we talked about before the episode. It's that kind of end scene that makes you want to keep going.
Yeah,
and this is why they should have made this show though weekly and not a all at once drop. Because can you imagine everyone waiting for what comes next after this episode? Instead of dropping it all at once. Like, I mean, you would have had so much press, publicity, you would have had it all. But let's just drop it all at once.
Yeah, it's a really good ending for a weekly show.
Yes.
But had we planned to cover all 5 episodes, I mean, I would have just kept rolling, and it would not have had the same impact.
Right.
I do like little things, little details through the first 3 episodes. Like, she goes back to, it's the first morning that Biscuits comes over, I think. And she gets startled by the flashing light.
Yes.
That's like the door alarm, that someone's at the door. The fact that they paid attention to that kind of detail, like how would she know?
Right.
There would have to be something there. So I like what they've done with a lot of the series through the first 3 episodes. I'm curious how they wrap it up.
Yeah.
Are we going to get a cliffhanger? Because I've stayed away from spoilers.
I'm same here. I don't know what happens. I know there is a post credit at the end of the 5th episode, which I am always. And Chris, if I'm lying, I'm dying. You're the one that does this to me. I have to scroll through every episode to make sure I'm not forgetting a post credit, because it's happened twice on the show, which is twice too many times. Let's just be honest. Yeah. And so I'm not making that mistake anymore. I don't care what it's on. Right. Which is a horrible. The MCU has done this to me, and it's their fault, not mine.
Yeah.
But I'm right there with you. Like the attention to detail. So that the Biscuits morning, when he brings over food and supplies and stuff like that, she's eating that Pop-Tart that she got in that box on top of the roof when Uncle Henry comes over later in the episode. It's just like that. The attention to detail is just very, very well done.
The one thing that I would say, and I guess it ties into the fact that she's never really done anything like this before. She wants him to keep quiet about her being in town, and then she goes into the roller rink while it's open and all these people are
it's a very small town. You clearly tell it's a small town. Everyone knows each other. And one of the scenes that cracked me up was Biscuits rolling down his post office route, because that's what he is, and his grandmother just looks over and he's rolling through and he goes, it just starts driving.
The bumpers hanging off the truck.
Sparks everywhere.
Windshield's busted.
Dude, it's so good. I love it. But this show really reminds me of like the Daredevil Netflix era of the technically MCU but not really MCU. And I mean, I really like Echo so far. I am really intrigued by her powers. It's different from the comics, because in the comics the reason her name's Echo is because she can copy abilities. She's kind of like Taskmaster. Like once she sees something, she can do it. But this one, she's channeling her ancestors who help her do the feats. Like in this 3rd episode, it was shooting the gun really well, and shooting guns, and then throwing one of the skates, or like a wheel from the skate or something like that. And no, it was the ball from the ski ball. And like, because they did a very good job with that too, where they just flashed it for a second of her ancestor, and then it was very, very, very cool. And I think this show could truly be something special if it follows up at the end. Which
it's almost like they're inhabiting her.
Yes.
In that moment.
It's very cool, and like, because they go through all of them that we've seen so far. The Choctaw with the strength one with the red like kind of painting on her jaw and everything, and then you see the very first one from the cave, and now we've got the was it Tuckwall
I think. Yeah, Tucklow.
With her shooting and her ability to throw and aim and things like that, which I guess is just her aim. It's very well done how they do that.
Yeah, very well. I would like to know too, and it may not be important, so they may not ever go over it. What happened to them?
Right. Which, yeah, well, we might know or figure it out, but we might not know. But it's
Right.
pretty cool. Like, I'm enjoying the series so far.
It's a nice change of pace from, and not, look, we both love Loki season 2, but this is a nice change of pace from it.
Yeah.
We're not
This is very
dealing
dark. This is very gritty. It's not so much comical, but it is
Right.
very realistic. It's on the more realistic side of the MCU.
We're not dealing with the TVA. We're not dealing with the Loom. We're not
Right.
dealing with all that stuff. And
Aliens. This is just
it's more grounded.
yeah. Oh, it's a very good word for it. But that's the first 3 episodes. We're going to watch the next 4 episodes of What If next week. Some of you may have already watched one of the episodes. And then the last 2 episodes of Echo, which will wrap that up. And then we'll get back to a regular start of our show the following week. But no releases besides like your normal NCIS shows. Like all those are starting to come back this week. So like all your kind of major programming. Hey, by the way, did you see that they're writing a spin-off of Young Sheldon?
Yes.
Which I'm like, it's a spin-off of a spin-off of a spin-off. So what, whatever. So it's kind of, I meant to bring that up earlier.
Yeah, it's I don't know what I think about it.
So I'm like, I guess if people keep watching, they'll keep watching, So
I think they've drained dry that
universe.
Yeah.
Now they're doing parents of, anyways. But no new releases this week as much as I'd like it. The Emmys are tomorrow night as of recording. I'm going to be watching it for probably the first time because The Last of Us is up for a lot of things. Ted Lasso, a lot of shows that I watch. And I want to make sure that they actually get their dues and stuff like that. So that's all I've got for TV this week.
Get their dues. Got to pay your dues. All right, cool. So, well, thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah, glad we could help.
Now let me pull up my stars here. So I have stuck to my New Year's resolution for 2 weeks.
I'm really excited because I've honestly been wanting to text you all week and ask how it's been going. So I'm purposely making myself wait to see what you've watched and things like that.
I watched a lot of older stuff. In fact, everything is older that I watched this week. I don't pick ahead of time. I kind of just, when I get ready to watch a movie at night, I just kind of, whatever catches my eye and throw it on.
Now, are all these from your collection, or are you just scrolling through like different stuff?
No, it's just stuff I have physical copies of.
Oh, okay.
So I went old school. First up this week was 1945's Anchors Aweigh. It's a musical. Katherine Grayson, Gene Kelly, Frank Sinatra.
Ooh. Like actual Frank Sinatra in it?
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen it a few times before. It's a 4-star for me.
Nice.
It's really good. I followed that up with 1971's The Nightcomers, which stars Marlon Brando. I gave this one 3 stars. It's different. It's one of those movies that if you know Brando, he started making just different things as his career went on. This is the year before The Godfather.
Oh.
And about 3 years before Last Tango in Paris. But this is this was made in England. And for the era, it's very, it's not very adult, but it has those themes in it. Basically, he's the gardener of this estate in England. He's from, I think, Scotland. And the kids love him. The brother and sister, they love playing with him because he plays hide and seek with them and everything. They're a little bit older. They're teenagers, but they're homeschooled, so they've never been to school.
They'll have
with
like social
other kids
interaction kind of stuff.
Yeah. he and the governess of the estate are having an affair that
Of course they
is
are.
like bordering pretty much S&M. Like he ties her up and does all sorts of stuff. Well,
Hot.
the story gets a little bit odd at one point because they don't realize that the brother of the kids, it's a brother and sister, he's snuck and watched them a couple of times at what they're doing. And apparently he and his sister, because they don't have any interaction with everybody else, with anybody else, have been doing things that they're not
Oh,
supposed to do.
you could say echoing what they.
Actually, um, but then they end up being a pair of little killers. So
Oh, that actually.
it's a very interesting movie,
That
but it's
sounds like
not.
something right up my alley, Chris. Let's just be honest here.
Uh, Next up, I watched 1972's The Night Stalker. This is the first Kolchak movie. Kolchak was a character Darren McGavin played in two movies and a TV series. He is probably best known by most people as the dad from A Christmas Story.
Mm.
He's a reporter, and these people start ending up dead around Las Vegas. Their bodies drained of blood, and of course he's like, "Well, it's got to be a vampire."
Right.
And everybody else is like, "Are you crazy?" So, yeah, it's been on the Supernatural, the TV series that spun off of these first two movies. Inspired Chris Carter, who went on to create the X-Files.
Oh, wow. So
Um,
is it actually a vampire or?
yeah, it's actually a
Okay.
vampire. He actually gets told to leave Las Vegas and never come back. Kolchak does because um, he destroys the vampire.
Mm.
But since they don't believe it was a vampire, they think he just killed somebody.
Oh, so it's
Yeah.
that whole.
Yeah.
That one's interesting.
Next, I watched 1966's Queen of Blood. 2 stars. I didn't like it very
Oh,
much.
really?
Yeah, it's a female alien being ostensibly they're trying to bring her to Earth, not knowing fully who she is. They're trying to develop a relationship between this other race of beings, and it's got John Saxon in it. Been in a lot of stuff, of course, but most people are going to be familiar with him as Nancy's dad in A Nightmare on Elm Street, the sheriff.
Oh, I know that movie finally.
Dennis Hopper's also in this film. Basil Rathbone, who played Sherlock Holmes for a lot of years, is in this movie. So it's got those three names going for it. Turns out that this alien, female alien, is actually a vampire. And she kills most of the crew on the ship. So it's okay. It's just, it could have been a lot better. It honestly, it got the 2 stars because of the performances from those three well-known people. So if you don't see it, you're not really missing a whole lot.
That's one of those.
It's one of those. Then I watched The Night Strangler, which was the second Kolchak movie. Gave it 4 stars. This time it's not a vampire, but they believe that it turns out that what's going on is this. It's an immortal, basically. Every 21 years, he strangles more victims and then disappears.
This is my kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So.
But this one, Kolchak has found himself in Seattle after having to leave Las Vegas. So, and I believe the TV series was set maybe in San Francisco. So
Terrible place.
kind of.
Too expensive.
Next up, I watched An American in Paris from 1951. This is another Gene Kelly movie, so a musical and dance film. Leslie Caron is in this as well. I think it was her film debut. 4 stars. Good. It's entertaining. Gene Kelly, when he dances in his movies, it's effortless. He makes it look just
I
easy.
wish I had that kind of skill or any good skill at all, but
Yeah. He did, and he pulled it off. And then finally, last night, I watched 1931's The Public Enemy with Jimmy Cagney.
Have they had a spin-off of this one? Because this sounds familiar.
So Johnny Depp did a film called Public Enemies.
That might be what I'm thinking of them.
But it's not the same.
Oh, okay.
Same story. I gave it 4.5 stars. This is a classic. It's really good. It tells a complete story in something that they can't do today, which is less than an hour and a half. It's like a 73-minute movie, I think.
That's not bad.
It's phenomenal. It keeps the story moving. Cagney, this was the film that really solidified him as a gangster character, in people's minds. Definitely worth checking out, though.
Oh, see, I love these. I love listening to you talk movies. I could do it for hours, honestly. And it's because it's. I find movies that like I want to check out too, and things like that. And like that one, Public Enemy, I want to check out because one, you give such a high rating, and Night Stalker sounds like right up my alley. So
yeah, I think you'd like Night Stalker and Night Strangler.
Yeah.
I think you'd like Public Enemy. The others, depends on how you are with musicals for two of them. And
well, I like musicals. The Greatest Showman, and then what is the one which makes me angry because I didn't watch it this past year? The one with Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds, The Christmas Moon. I could not remember it for the life of me. I see the poster, the red and green.
We reviewed that, right?
Yes, and I cannot. Spirited Away or Spirited? No, was it just Spirited? Oh god, that's gonna piss me off.
I'm already in Letterboxd. I'll just scroll back and check it out because we did that last year. Spirited.
Yeah, Spirited. Because that's just one of those that the instant classic. But ladies and gentlemen, that is it for this episode of the podcast. We've got. I'm sorry I failed you for not watching that third episode of the What If series, but mistakes were made. It's been a busy week, and I promise you, I will watch the 4 episodes that are mandated to me, and then the last 2 episodes of Echo, which I hope they land on the feet because I'm really enjoying it so far with everything they've done. Hope you enjoyed this week's episode as much as we did and enjoyed talking about these episodes. If you did, make sure you subscribe to us on all your podcasting services and YouTube. YouTube being our main one that we do, especially with like our Nerdwide Reacts, which hopefully, Chris, we get some trailers soon because we're starting to get to that towards the year. With Super Bowl especially, those will get like a lot of good trailers. Which we only have one MCU movie coming out this year, but
Deadpool 3.
Yeah, which I'm really excited about, but still doesn't help that there's nothing else coming with it.
We should get something else on the next MCU show for Disney Plus. I'm sure they'll drop a Deadpool 3 trailer.
Yeah,
for the Super Bowl. But there's nothing DC related.
No,
right? So
we should get something for Craven, Madam Web. I mean,
yeah.
Which they've already spoiled half their stuff in it already. So
we should be hearing more about the boys in the second half of this season for Invincible. Hopefully, we'll get more details about the next season of Last of Us.
Yep.
So there's stuff, but it's just up in the air.
They haven't even started filming for The Last of Us yet. Last of Us season 2. Because Pedro Pascal, because they had like the Emmys for like the creative arts Emmys we talked about last week, he was in a sling in a cast. So, and they hadn't started filming yet, but they did hire a bunch of which we can talk about in a couple of weeks. But they did hire Dinah. What's her? Oh God, Abby. They hired, which it looks like I'm like okay. I'm all on board.
Coming together.
Yes. So, but we'll talk about that at a later date. So make sure you're all following and catching up with us and subscribe to all of our channels. Social media, you can follow us everywhere. We're literally everywhere. We have been hit by the Facebook scams, so we've made it. Which I've started seeing people being hit with the same guest 75437 as trying to claim our. Anyways, but that's for us to worry about. But
let's say.
Go ahead.
Real quick before we go, within 2 weeks, we'll have our nominees for the Oscars.
Oh, that's
So we'll be
right.
doing our-
Oh, yes. I'm excited. Some really good movies, some crappy ones that I wish I would never have wasted my time on that we watched last year. But, was it Tar? I don't know. You'll have to go back and watch our reviews of it. So, as always, this has been this week's episode of the Nerdwide Podcast. We cannot wait to finish Echo out with you and continue with the What If Season 2 with you next week. But until then, stay safe, wash your hands, and we'll see you then.
Later, guys.